Hey, welcome to Long Distance Sisters.
I'm Tori.
I'm MacKenna.
And I'm Serena.
Come chat with us while we're far apart.
Okay, let's get started.
Welcome to the 5th episode. We are going to talk to you about our time in Australia today because you've probably heard us mention it in other episodes, but we did live in Australia for about 2 years while we were still in school. So we moved to Australia in 2011. MacKenna and Serena went down in April, and I finished out my junior year of high school and then came down in June. And we were there until May 2013.
Yeah, and it was a pretty quick process of moving. So we moved in general because of our dad's job. He's an environmental engineer, and the firm he works for just has offices all around the world. And he had been getting opportunities to go to different parts all around the world. I remember hearing about we could move to Hawaii at one point, move to different states, we could move to Singapore. MacKenna, you just cut me off.
Well, I thought you paused for a second.
No,
so I was putting it in.
That's not a second pause. That was a millisecond.
Whatever.
Don't laugh at me.
You're gonna see a lot more fighting in January, Nick. So
Tori says you'll see a lot more fighting in January.
I can't wait.
I can't wait. But there were opportunities when we could have moved to Hawaii or other U.S. states. We could have moved to Singapore, Tokyo, and Australia before this time. And our parents had never taken it until like 2 months before we were about to move, 3 months, something like that. And they just kind of said yes and started packing up the house we lived in for 10 years. And then in April, we were on a plane and heading to Australia. So it was a big thing. And I remember, I'm still so mad about this. It was my last day of elementary school there, 5th grade. And it was also April Fool's Day. So April 1st. And Mom, I wake up to my alarm and I'm getting ready for school. And Mom comes upstairs and she's like, oh, by the way, the school just called. It's going to be a 2-hour delay. And I was like, oh my gosh, no way. That's awesome. So I went back to sleep and I was like, yeah, I have more time to get ready. And I was going to shower. I was going to wear a dress. I was going to look all nice for my last day of 5th grade. And then it's I don't know. My bus is about to come and Mom's going, Serena, why are you ready for school? And I was like, you told me it was a 2-hour delay. And she was like, it's April Fool's Day, Serena. I was kidding. And so I was like, well, you're going to drive me to school because I didn't have time to get ready. So you better be ready to take me. And she was like she felt so bad because I was in bed sleeping for my last day.
I felt really bad because I pulled an April Fool's joke and told one of my friends I wasn't moving anymore.
and it was your last.
She got so happy and excited, and immediately I was like, I'm sorry, it's April Fool's. And then that was at the beginning of choir practice, and then my choir sang me a song and it was cute.
Aww. Yeah, I remember at lunchtime, because you know how they used to sing happy birthday to kids and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I remember they all had me stand up. My entire class said, bye, Serena. It was really cute. It was very cute.
Yeah, I got nothing in high school.
Yeah.
You just finished up the school year with everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
And you just lived with our neighbors and your friends.
And grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was fun.
It was definitely weird because as we were moving, it was just MacKenna and I hanging out all the time.
Yeah, it was just Serena and I. But we did go, the April 24th is my birthday. So that year it was my 13th birthday, which moving right before your 13th birthday to a country where you don't know, I felt like my life was being taken away. I felt like I just started getting a life, and my parents were like, okay, time to move halfway around the world and start all over. Preteen MacKenna, not a good thing.
Oh, you poor thing.
I did not. I was the only person in the family against moving. But on my 13th birthday, we went to the Sydney Royal Easter Show, which was a lot of fun. Basically, just like a nicer version of a carnival. That's how I would maybe describe it.
Carnival
Kind of like
mixed with
Jersey Boardwalk amusement park.
Yeah, plus like part like farm show,
Yeah.
like state fair kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting.
It was fun.
Sure.
I rode the zipper for the first time.
All right. Anyway, back to moving. So, MacKenna and I left in April with our parents and Tori stayed behind. But we took planes from Philadelphia to LA and then LA to Sydney. So that was about a 24-hour travel day. The plane was like a lot of fun though, because it was like the first, that's one of the longest plane rides we've gone in the world. It was 14 hours, 15 hours. We arrived in Sydney. All we had was, I think, 2 suitcases each and like a backpack or whatever. And we moved into like an apartment and it had a view of the Sydney Opera House and the Harbor Bridge. And
such a pretty view.
We were there for about 3 months. So I don't even think Tori lived there. And then we moved, and that was in a suburb called Neutral Bay. And then we moved to Mossman, which is where we spent the rest of our time there.
Yes.
But in regards to culture shock, there isn't really any because it's a first world country that's also English speaking and is pretty similar to America.
Yeah.
There are differences, of course, but it's pretty similar. I think just the most shocking thing was we were going from living in sort of, I want to say rural, but not suburban or urban, to living in like a city. So that was probably the most shocking thing.
A pretty big house to an apartment was really different for us too. Like we were used to having a yard and things like that. We didn't have any car. We had no car while we lived in Australia. More lifestyle things rather than cultural things were bigger differences, I'd say.
Although I will say when I stepped out of the airport, it smelled different. And I want to say it's because of the petrol. But if that happened to you, let me know, because these two don't get what I'm talking about.
I remember sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Like the day I got there, you guys had already moved into the next apartment. And I got there early in the morning and you guys were at school. And we just like I got to the apartment. It was early, like 8 or 9, I think. And Mom gave me tacos. They're like leftovers from dinner the night before. She's like, here, you want some food? Here's tacos. Leftover tacos. Welcome home. And then we like hung out at the apartment for a little bit, and then we went and walked around Mossman, and we walked down to Balmoral, and we got bottom of the harbor fish and chips, and we sat there, and then we're like, okay, let's go pick up Serena from school. And then we went to Serena's school and got her. It was so
my
cute.
little uniform.
Yes.
That was the best. Oh. I wish I still had a uniform.
Yeah. And Serena, you had to start like in the grade behind, right? Or grade
ahead. But that's my little fun fact. I never finished 5th grade. I just went right to 6th grade. But I only missed like
a couple months, yeah.
Yeah, like 3 months of 5th grade. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they just put me right in 6th grade because I was like, I want to be because those were the people who were mine. So.
It took us a while though, like near the end of when we lived there, we realized Serena had never had like US geography because she wasn't in the US to have that. And we had like a game that involved a little geography, like a family game. And Serena like didn't know any states or anything. Like she couldn't name a state or a capital, which like is fine, but it's just was funny that we were like, oh, she never learned this.
I didn't know state capitals at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't really know any of them.
You didn't know states either, honey.
Oh, I don't remember that.
There was a card that was like, name 5 states that start with an S, and you just like, no.
I knew the names of states. It was probably the one where it's like name states that surround this one. Or
Yeah, probably. But
I
yeah,
don't know.
it was funny. So then we started giving her geography lessons.
Yeah. Oops. That's okay.
Well, it happened to me too. I missed trigonometry because I would have had it my senior year in the US, but when I got to Australia and started school, they had already done it. So like I never learned trig, and cos, sine, all that stuff, never learned it. And so when I got to like calculus in college, I was like, I don't know how to do this.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's big.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was rough.
Mhm.
And I had some trick questions on my final exam kind of thing that they do in Australia, and I just was like, those are the ones I'm gonna miss. I think I learned kind of like the basics of cos and sine and whatever the other one is. Tan, right? Tan. But still to this day, no idea.
Wow.
Me on the other hand, so I was in 7th grade in America, and then when I moved to Australia, I stayed in 7th grade. And I was definitely ahead of those kids academically. And so much so that they actually let me skip 8th grade down there, which I asked them to do so I could be back on track when we moved back to America. So I missed geometry other than basics, how to find the area of a circle, but how to find the area of triangular prisms and all that. I mean, I figured it out, and more complex stuff like that, never learned.
Still, instead of elementary school, it's primary school, and it's K through 6. And then we just went right to high school, which was 7 through 12. And that was just called high school. I don't think they have middle school. They might not have middle school anywhere in Australia. I don't really know. But I think it's just because there weren't that many people in our school.
Yeah, we had classes of 120 in our high school. And we actually went to one of a few public schools in Australia. Most people go to a private school, or a charter school kind of situation. We, being Americans, we're like, well, we go to public school, right? And we did that, and then we realized most people don't go to public school, which it was fine. I liked our school. We were actually at a performing arts public school. Not that you had to be involved in the arts, it was just a school that had a really good program, so a lot of people traveled to go to that school.
Naomi Watts came out of that school.
But it was a really cool school, and a lot of schools there, high schools, are set up more like a campus, much smaller than a college campus in the US, say, but you have different buildings and kind of different areas, and you have to be able to find your way to class. And if you don't have a class during that block, you are free. It's not just a normal.
That was only
7
you,
to 3
because you were in the upper years.
Well, in the upper years, but I mean, still, it wasn't a normal 7 to 3 or whatever.
Yeah, every day of the week was different. So every Monday would be different from every Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Wednesdays
we had half days. Yeah. And then years 7 through 10 we go to sport. In year 7 they chose the sport for you. And then years 8, 9, and 10 you got to choose to for 2 sport trimesters. I chose to do sailing, which is really cool. Very unique. That's one of the perks of living near the beach, I guess, at least for us. Because this was also, living near the beach was new to us too. And then Serena, tell them what you did in year 7.
Well, everyone did it. but I did surfing in year 7. We went to Manly Beach, and it was just my whole class. We went surfing every Wednesday for 2-3 hours, something like that. And they taught you like the basic like swim safety and everything like that. And then you finally use a board like the last 2 lessons. And then in year 8, I did basketball. Pretty average.
And then,
But one thing I liked, or not liked, but one thing that's different is Australian schools have a recess it's also called morning tea. So you have like 1 or 2 classes, and then you would have recess, which was like 20 minutes, and you would just kind of like, it was just like a snack time. But morning tea, like when you would normally sit down and have your cup of tea and biscuit and relax, and then you would go to like a few more classes and then have lunch and then 2 more classes and the day would be over. And that was the same in primary school and high school. Yeah. But the schools there are also year round, or at least the ones that we had experienced. So their summer in Australia is when our winter is. So, December, January, February is summer. So there would be 6 weeks off for people who, celebrate Christmas, the New Year, and Australia Day, January 26th. So you have a 6-week break then. And then you would have like 9-10 weeks of school, another 2-3 week break, 9 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
10 weeks, 2 weeks, 10 weeks, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I kind of liked.
Yeah. It was interesting.
I think that's because of the whole thing. Our dad would say, like, in America, we live to work. But in Australia, they work to live. They really take their time with vacations and travel and leisure way more so than we do in America. So, like, they would take those 2 weeks and they would be gone those whole 2 weeks. So many friends would go to Bali and Thailand and Egypt and all that.
Yeah, rather than trying to cram a bunch of things into 1 3-month break in the US, you have the 2 weeks spread out, so you can take a trip every time you reach one of those if you want to. And they have a much more relaxed view on like using PTO and things like that. Like, it was pretty common to just be like, yeah, I'm gonna take a month off of work, see you in February, and like no one would bat an eye. Like, it was just normal and like okay, because they understood that you should be enjoying your life. That's what you're working for, is to have a life and have money spent on that life. So people definitely traveled a lot. Plus, like, if you want to travel outside of Australia, you can't just go for like a long weekend because everything is pretty far away. So yeah, like New Zealand looks like it's really close, but it's still like an 8-hour plane ride from Sydney, which is like the closest city to it. So yeah.
And then another thing about our high school, it was the only non-uniform high school in the state of New South Wales, which is kind of crazy that like uniforms are the norm there. And we were the odd ones
lucky
out
enough
not
to go
wearing
to school
uniforms
without uniforms.
Yeah, and I think that plays into the whole art school thing.
Yeah,
definitely.
And I did a year of primary school, and we had a uniform, and it was a public primary school, and I loved it. It was bliss. It was so easy to get ready in the morning. Mom was so happy. She was like, all she had to do was brush her teeth, eat breakfast, and put on her uniform. It was the best. And like in our uniform, we had a bunch of different like outfits. Like there was a dress and a skirt and shorts and pants, and you could choose a bunch of different things. The only thing that was annoying is every time you went outside, you had to wear a hat.
Yes, they all wear little sun hats. So cute.
You know how the normal languages that are available to like high schoolers and middle schoolers in America are like Spanish, French, Latin, German, and stuff. In Australia, they were, at least at our high school, there was French, which is probably taught a lot of places because that's the language of diplomacy. And then Italian, Japanese, and Chinese.
Specifically Mandarin.
Yeah, I took Chinese. But in year 7, they had you rotate through them all to see which language you liked best, which I think was cool.
Yeah, that was cool. Like each term, there were 4 terms. They would change. They would put you in a different language. See what you like. They'd put you in a different like not extracurricular, but a different
Elective.
Yeah, a different elective where it was cooking or the traditional like home ec. There was another like sewing one, a Photoshop class, woodwork, metalwork. Like they would just kind of like
it was textiles.
Textiles.
But yeah, I liked wood shop and metal shop and stuff. Like that was cool.
That was really cool.
And they also had some other like cool electives for once you got to year 9. But once you hit year 11, the only class that was mandatory for you to take was English, right? Like you didn't have to take any math or science if you didn't want to.
I mean, you still had to have a certain amount of credits to graduate, but there was no, like, the only one you had to take was English. Everything else you could build your schedule however you wanted it. Like you could take all science classes or you could take all English classes. Like for me, so the other thing they do there is their English class is standardized. So everyone takes the same English class, no matter what level you're in. And if you are an honors student, you take an additional English class, at least for years 11 and 12, because that is like their
I didn't have to take
higher school years, they say, because you take an exam in year 10 that gives you a certain certification of school. And then if you want to continue, like if you plan to go to university, then you would continue for years 11 and 12. You don't have to go to university if you do those. You can just do them. But most people, if they don't plan to go to a university, they stop after year 10 with their high schools. I don't even know what it's called. I used to. Whatever their school certificate from year 10.
I don't know what it's called.
And then after 11 and 12, you get your higher school certificate, which you have to sit for a bunch of exams for, which are standardized, but they are actually off of the information you learned in class. So it's like your final exam, but standardized because all of their classes are standardized. So like everyone in all of New South Wales takes the same English class and reads, 2 of the same 5 books or something. And so everyone takes the same exam. So it's standardized, yet based off of information and not just like generic questions like on the SAT or something.
Do you want to talk about like the college or university process, Tori, since you're the only one of us who dealt with it?
Yeah. So basically you had to plan what you wanted to do in college really early. If you wanted to go, and it's not college, it's university there. College is more like a specialized high school there. So basically you had to take certain classes and certain HSC exams in order to get into certain majors at certain schools. Kind of. It's hard to explain. So basically, everything to getting into university in Australia is based off of one number. Okay, it's not. They don't take into account your extracurriculars. There's no essay, like none of that stuff. Basically, they take your grades from school and your grades from your HSC exams
and your ranking, right? Like you're within your school,
and they produce a number. And you get that number, and that number dictates what you can apply to. And you apply to each individual major. You don't just apply to the school. And so, like, let's say they call it your ATAR. That's your number. So my ATAR was, say, 90. I don't remember what it was. I could only apply to things that you required a maximum of 90 or a minimum of.
Probably minimum. Probably minimum.
Because like wasn't 130 or something the highest? Something like that.
Yeah, like if I got a 90, I could not apply to something that required a 91. Right. Okay. And that it was different based on the major and the school.
And the
like
year,
a more desirable school is going to have higher numbers across the board. And then more desirable majors are going to have higher numbers, or more difficult majors will have higher numbers.
But also people like nursing, I remember, had a really low score because they needed a lot more nurses in the
Exactly.
country.
Yeah. They skewed it based on kind of like a need. So like something like graphic design might have a really high one because they don't want to just have everyone do graphic design. They want to encourage people to go into more in demand fields.
And I would say a lot of kids wanted to do graphic design, but that's also skewed for us because, again, performing art in arts related school.
Yeah. And then the other thing that went into your ATAR was your rank, your class rank. Okay. So basically, you're always on a ranking scale in the Australian like school system. Well, in New South Wales, I'm not speaking for all of Australia, New South Wales. And basically, your rank is determined by like the average class grades and what your grade is. And the grade that you get on assignments takes into account your ranking. So you're not graded purely on how you did on one assignment. Okay. So like if I did, say I was doing really poorly in school and I had a really low ranking, right? And then I wrote like the best essay ever. Like I really pushed hard and had a great essay that in the US would earn me like a 98 or something, right? Because I have that low ranking, it's going to pull that 98 down. So I don't actually get a 98. So it was kind of weird because like if you were the top of the class, you kind of stayed at the top of the class, even if other people started pulling ahead. And if you weren't the top of the class, you could never get a grade that was equivalent to people at the top of the class. It was just kind of really weird. Like,
Yeah.
So I didn't love that part of being there for my 11th and 12th grade years because it kind of messed with me getting into college and things. Because I didn't really know what I was doing while I was there, like if I was going to go back to the US or stay there. So I kind of tried to do like prepare for both, and it was just weird. And yeah.
Tell them, so where did they say you had to go and what you had to major in?
Oh yeah, like the only thing I got into was like the School of Law at the University of Sydney, which was like a great thing to get into, but I was like, I don't even know why I applied to that. Because you had to apply to like 8 things. I don't know. But I didn't get into anything else, and I'm pretty sure it's probably because I probably put like English as my major for most things, and they don't want to give you that, so they made it a higher ATAR.
Because the population of Australia is, at least from when we were there, it was 25 million. And in comparison to the US, which is over 300 million, they need to organize people and put them in jobs of demand because it's such a small country.
Mm-hmm.
And even if all these people...
On top of that, they have a smaller percentage of students that actually go to college versus the US. The US, like, I don't know what the percentage is now, but it's pretty up there. Like most kids go to college, or at least, you know, like community college or something. Like most kids take courses and get some sort of degree after college. Whereas in Australia, it's a much lower percentage, not crazy low, but definitely lower. Like working in trades is more popular and doesn't require a degree. Whereas even in America, job markets are getting so competitive that a lot of trades do require a degree, so or starting to require degrees. So it's just different. But like just because you get the ATAR to get into the major you want at the school you want doesn't mean that you're going to get it. Mm-hmm. They still get to decide based off of something. I don't know what, but
yeah. And how graduating from high school kind of like screwed you up going to university in the US because you couldn't get any kind of in-state tuition or anything like that.
I didn't graduate from a US school. I wasn't eligible for a lot of scholarships. I wasn't eligible for in-state tuition anywhere. Plus, like in the US, grades are inflated. In Australia, they're not. So my grades looked lower than they were.
Yeah,
However,
like
most schools say they translate them, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah, and anything 50 and above in Australia, was it 50 or was it 60? One of those was passing, but an A was like 85 and up. Like if you got anywhere in the 90s, they thought you were like the smartest kid ever.
Yeah. That's again because of like the ranking. So they grade based off of ranking too, like grade based off of like an idealized ranking. Okay, so like 100% on like an essay would be like they had visualized the best essay anyone could possibly ever write on that topic, and that would get 100. It doesn't, whereas in the US, the 100 goes to the best essay in the class.
I don't think so.
Well, an essay that just meets the criteria.
Yes, an essay that meets the criteria is.
But they're grading it based off of what they see in America. So they're grading it off of how well they think someone in their class would do versus someone they think could ever possibly do ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like just a little bit more idealized. So like if they don't think you wrote the best essay ever, you're not going to get 100, even if you met every criteria.
That's kind of how my public speaking professor was though in college. But like how it screwed you over going to college in the US, I was in year 10, like one term into year 10 in Australia when I moved back to the US. And mom and I had to work so hard to let me go into 10th grade. Like they were like, no, like we can't confirm what she learned in school and stuff. So we might just start her over in 9th grade. And I was like, no, this is like why I skipped the grade, so I wouldn't have to go back.
Right.
Which I was definitely, they put me into like the top level math class. And because in Australia, how it works is like you learn a little bit about each topic at a time. So in math, you might spend like 3 weeks on geometry, 5 weeks on trigonometry, 2 weeks on whatever. It was just like different.
Mm-hmm.
And
they're starting to do that
because I miss it, because of the way they structured it, I definitely missed some stuff and I was not ready for that math class. But they also, because the grades were like 85 and up was an A, they didn't understand that in America. So it also brought down what my GPA should have been a lot higher than it actually was going into high school in America. And it also didn't help that my English teacher in Australia for at least like the first few years, and I was warned this before I ever even stepped foot into her classroom, she hated Americans for some reason. She loved Tori though, because Tori was an English major.
No, she didn't like me either.
Miss Jakes?
Yeah, she didn't like me.
Oh, okay. Well, she didn't even like Tori. But she, like, we read a picture book as one of our books for year 7. And I wrote an essay comparing it to the American dream, like as a theme in it, which it totally wasn't because I clearly didn't understand the American dream. But she wrote on it, "You're not in America anymore, -5." I was like, what? And then one time, one of my friends was writing like a short story and named a character Chuck. And she literally wrote "to American -3. Like and before I was there, she picked on one girl who was like kind of vocal about being half American. And she's like, I hate that all the picking's gone on you now, but at least it's off me. And she the only time I ever did well in her class was the one time she gave a multiple choice and short answer test, and I got the highest grade. So it's like everything else that was creative and up to her interpretation, I was like, no, you're not good enough. You're American.
Yeah.
Go away.
I do remember
Oops, sorry.
when we had first moved there, and while I was in year 6, and hearing a lot of kids, talk about, oh, fat Americans, stupid Americans, and
I left the whole friend group because I stood up for Americans, and they're like, no, Americans are sluts, like they're this, they're that. And I'm like, have you seen the way you guys dress? And she's like, yeah, well, I've been to Hawaii like 2 times and they don't wear many clothes there. I'm like, that's Hawaii. It's
Hawaii
also
has a-
not very representative of American culture because they
Yeah.
have their own culture. And it's the hottest state. So like, of course, they're not going to be wearing turtlenecks and stuff.
But
you
nobody, no, MacKenna, stop. Nobody should be picking on what other people wear and slut shaming them for it at all.
Exactly.
They also tease me for being American. Or not being American, for being vegetarian.
I mean,
well, everyone does that.
They all just.
I left that friend group because they were some of my biggest bullies I've ever experienced. Like it got really bad. So I just left them for a new friend group.
They definitely all think we are McDonald's eating, gun toting hillbillies.
Macca's.
Mhm.
They eat Macca's all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
So we had to say, no, that's not all Americans. A lot through gritted teeth.
yes, it would get very frustrating.
We're like, do you see me? Like,
yeah,
like,
I remember it was after a break and it was in year 6, and kids who went on vacation like would stand in front of the class and tell everyone what they did. And this one boy was talking about how he went to Hawaii, and he was saying how, like, he was just talking about Hawaii and everything. And then he was like, and when we went to the buffet, all the Americans had like tons of food on their plates and they were so fat and everything. And I was just sitting there, like, I started crying, like silently in my seat, because I was like, that's such a mean thing to say. Like, he was calling all Americans fat and everything. And the teacher just like stood there and watched and was just like, okay, great, I'm glad you went on vacation. And I was just there like crying. And it was my friends who went up to that boy and was like, you need to apologize to him. And so he came up and like apologized to me and everything, making me cry. Because I was like, yeah. And I was like, first of all, it's a buffet. I was like, first of all, get your money worth.
I'm like, yeah, I would have liked to see a picture of your plate. I'm sure it was just
And if it wasn't, you're wasting money.
like, yeah, like even if you're not gonna eat it all, it's a buffet. You fill your plate and you eat what you want. I know that sounds wasteful, but it's already wasted. It's a buffet.
But yeah, and I just, I remember just people would like to talk about, Americans being dumb and how they're not a peaceful country like Australia, and just stuff like that would get on my nerves, and I would argue with people. And
I would say too, it went back and forth because like a lot of the time I was like, no, Australia is definitely a better country. But then sometimes you're like, no, but I want to defend America. Like, it's not all bad. Like, people just have skewed.
I became so patriotic living in another country.
Oh, I didn't. I was like, why are we moving back to America? Like,
there was shortly after we moved back to America. I don't know who found it, but there was some BuzzFeed post written by someone who was also American and had lived in Australia, about like 42 things she experienced, and she was like, I've never been more patriotic in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you just like, I had it too in my kind of, where I was just like a natural urge to be like, no, you guys are the dumb ones, you guys are the fat ones. And I remember in like a in health class, I had to give a presentation on obesity. Like, that was my topic. And I was like, of course you give obesity to America. And I pulled it up and I was like, actually, in this year, which was only at that point a year before something, Australia was like the most obese country. And just like pulling that statistic out to all of them, being like, ha, was just like that was a big moment for me.
I remember when my health teacher said that to us, and I was in my head, I was just like, huh, hair flip.
And we went to a performing arts school, and like, they weren't athletic kids, I would say. So I
No.
felt like the most athletic person ever.
Yeah, like for school, the way like team sports worked in like Australia in general, it wasn't like, you play 10 or whatever games in the season and the team with the best record moves on. It was like knockout style. So like if you lose your first game, that's the only game you play all season. And I was on the basketball team and the soccer team, and we usually lost the first, second, or third game. Like we were not good. Like soccer was good, we sucked at basketball. But
Okay,
we
MacKenna.
did suck at sports in general.
The thing with sports there, at least at our school, like there wasn't like sports as they are in America, where you try out for the team and you have practice three
there
times a
was.
week.
I had to try
Yeah.
out for basketball and
MacKenna.
soccer.
MacKenna.
Serena, you had to try out. There only one or two people would get cut because not many people would try out. But you had to try
You
out.
could do it on
MacKenna.
Wednesdays as part of
No, this was like we would practice during lunch or something,
These
and we would take
sports,
time out of the school day to go play games.
these sports were in no way similar to American sports.
That's what I was
In
saying.
school.
It was knockout, not
No,
like
no,
an actual
but I
regular
mean-
season.
I mean, like our school
You
didn't
practice
have like,
during lunch. In America, practice is like 2.5 hours.
yeah, after school every day, and you have sports and tournaments on the weekends and after like late at night and everything. And our school didn't have like a big football or rugby field or whatever. We were also in a city suburb, so there was no room for it. There was like a local, they called it Oval, which was just like a local field that all the schools could use and everything. But it was, I would say, it's in no way similar to how American sports like in school are done.
Mm-mm.
No one goes to the games either.
No one goes to the game. No
No.
way.
Only
People
the
playing
parents.
Go. Like that's it.
But we are complaining a lot, but we are extremely lucky and extremely privileged.
Oh, I love
have-
it there. I'd
Yeah,
be back
it's-
I loved
tomorrow
every-
if the opportunity was available.
I liked everything but school. Like if I had kids, I would not, unless it was elementary school, primary school, I wouldn't take my kids there. I'd want them to be
Like,
educated in America.
There were things I didn't like the curriculum, but I did like the, what do you call it? I don't know. The logistics of school. Like I liked how the campus was set up and how you did your schedule, and you had a little more like freedom and independence as a student.
And they would expose like year 7 and 8 to a lot of different things before having them choose what to do.
And like it made it easier to be social, and it was definitely, I thought, less cliquey. Like there were definitely groups of people that hung out together, but it wasn't super like cliquey. I don't know. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I think just having like the multiple breaks in your day, you just had more social time in a good way. And also we didn't have a cafeteria.
Yeah.
So we had like a food like kiosk.
Canteen.
They call it a canteen.
The canteen.
Yeah. But it was, just like a walk up to it and order or whatever.
Mhm.
So
But it was
you had to like, have your group or your spot to go and like eat lunch on campus or whatever, because there wasn't just like a cafeteria. But I also think that put less pressure because you weren't like walking into a cafeteria and like, where do I sit? Like,
but the weather was also very nice, so we could sit outside. Yeah, like everyone ate lunch outside.
we outside year round, and pretty much everyone was just on campus somewhere, crowded around a picnic table, and it was
good.
nice.
Yeah, so we're very lucky to have found to live there. for sure.
Yes.
What
Well,
an
I
amazing
will say-
opportunity.
On the click comment, I feel like at least my grade in my high school in America wasn't very clicky. Like, yeah, our high school wasn't clicky in Georgia.
Once
So it
well,
wasn't
'cause it
clicky
was-
in Australia either. So
it, I feel like in our high school in America, it was just so big that like it was hard to have clicks. And then especially once you get into 11th grade, everyone's just depressed and they don't
Yeah.
care.
I feel like, and maybe it's just because they're smaller class size in our school in Australia, but I felt like it was less of like, oh, that person hangs out with those people and that person hangs out with those people. Like there was a little bit more flow and overlap. Like anyone could get invited to any party. There were definitely groups, so you knew who was friends with who, but like everyone knew each other. Like everyone knew who I was, even if I had never talked to them. And it was kind of the same, like back and forth, like, which was weird for me because I would not agree that that is how my school in America was, but it was also a bigger class size. So I don't know if that's a class size thing or more just like a student mentality thing, but
I think it's a class size thing because the people I've talked to who have had small schools, small grades in America,
then everyone
pretty
knows
much
each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could talk about this forever.
Yeah.
We did a lot of cool vacations, a lot of amazing opportunities. Went to the Great Barrier Reef.
Yeah, that was a whole like Queensland thing, and then also the Australia Zoo, which is where the Irwin family's from. We saw Bindi, and she was my age, so she was 12, feeding crocodiles. Because we went to the croc show.
We went down to Tasmania, rented an RV, and drove around. And
we flew to Melbourne, and then we hit it. Melbourne. Then we hit up Phillips. Is it Phillips Island or Phillip Island? Wherever the Hemsworth brothers are from. We went there. Lots of cute penguins. And then we did the Great Ocean Road from there. And we spent quite a few nights on Kangaroo Island. And then went to Adelaide before flying home.
So we got to go to we did a bunch of other trips.
Yeah, like we went to Perth and Fremantle without Tori.
And I went to Whitsundays.
Mm-hmm.
Serena sailed on the Whitsundays.
Yeah, my mom and her best friend and I did a sailing trip for a few days.
Our parents went to Uluru without us.
Okay, it's expensive to go to Uluru.
I know, but like everyone's like, you lived in Australia and you didn't go to Uluru, like.
Well, we only had 2 years there. We thought we had 5. We thought we
had like everything else.
And then for school, for choir, I did a tour choir thing to Tamworth, but then I also did tried out for our international tour choir and went to Italy and Austria through our high school. So that was cool. St. Peter's Basilica, Melgabi, bunch of places.
This isn't an Italy podcast.
And then while I was there, where did you guys go? You went somewhere with
we went to Jervis Bay.
Jarvis Bay.
Jervis.
That's right. I forgot about that. But some of the whitest
we went to like the Blue Mountains a lot and the Hunter. And
where did we go for the one Christmas we spent in Australia?
Port Canberra?
No. That wasn't for Christmas. We did go.
It's Canberra.
Canberra. And we went to it was like Port Douglas.
Was it Port Douglas? Yeah. We spent Christmas there. We rode camels because camels are wild in Australia too.
Not native, but wild. There's a lot of things like that in Australia. Not native, but wild.
Is it Port Douglas? We can cut this out. Was it Port Douglas? I thought that was when we went to Great Barrier Reef first time.
No. Port Stephen.
Oh, okay. Okay. So yeah, we got to do a lot of cool things. We're very, very lucky. It was amazing. I definitely want to go back and go into the middle. Go into
my retirement plan is still to have a horse farm / winery in the Barossa Valley.
Okay.
I rent it out as a wedding venue. I mean, the money, girls, the money.
Okay. The only thing I'm worried about going back to Australia is I didn't realize how big those spiders are.
I know.
Oh my God.
But to be honest, I never saw anything except the huntsman there. Like I never saw a funnel web or anything actually dangerous. I saw the huntsman, which is terrifying looking, but harmless.
Funnel
Funnel
webs
webs,
are
knock out
small.
your shoes, check your toilets, check your pools.
But it is
Never saw
freaky.
it.
And I have had multiple nightmares about funnel webs because they make their web like in the ground. So you would just step in it and like die. That is freaky.
They had an antidote for it, but you could die. But I think they're nocturnal and they're small. I don't think they're very
They're
big.
tiny, yeah. So you don't see them. That's kind of the dangerous.
But yeah, huntsmen, they're big, freaky looking spiders, but they're not poisonous to humans, at least. Their bite will still hurt you.
Venomous.
Yeah, they're not venomous, sorry. Or whatever. I don't care. I don't care the proper term. But oh my god. Like I didn't see a very big one. I think the biggest one I saw was maybe like that big. And like that was in like school. And then the science department came and like kept it as a pet.
Yeah, they would be like in our school library, just like chilling.
And
like
They
they
can
can eat
get-
like a small, they can eat like a mouse,
yeah.
a
Like-
spider.
Well, there was this picture I saw, some like article talking about how these guests went into like their hotel room. They're like doing a farm stay like type thing. And they go into their room and there is a giant huntsman, maybe like that big. I don't know, something like that. On the wall. Like they open the door and it's like right there. And it has a like 1 to 2 pound baby possum in its mouth. And it's just eating it.
Oh, remember this time we found out.
Imagine how big and strong that spider has to be hanging on the wall, eating like something that's 1 to 2 pounds. Ew.
Remember-
I don't know if I can go back.
Okay, Australian possums are cute.
All right. I don't remember what we were just talking about. I think it was about spiders, but we kind of lost it.
Yeah.
Big spider.
Yeah, spiders. But anyway, we've talked a lot about Australia. So we're going to continue this conversation in a part 2 next week. So join us then. In the meantime, subscribe, rate, review, download, all the things.
Ask questions in the comments.
Yes. But now we are going to do our quiz.
Yay.
It's time to decide which country has better snacks, Australia or America.
Let's go.
All right. Which savory biscuit reigns supreme? Shapes, Pizza, or Cheez-Its Original?
Okay.
Cheez-Its.
Wait. I think an Australian wrote this because I would call these crackers, not savory biscuits.
That's true.
Yeah. I still say Cheez-Its. I don't like either, but I remember I just hated shapes. I hated them.
Yeah, I never really got into shapes there.
Shapes were my primary snack. I love shapes.
But do you prefer Cheez-Its?
I think I prefer shapes. They had a larger variety of flavors, I feel like. And their flavor wasn't as like intense. And I don't think it was like a cheese-based cracker.
No. I don't feel like the texture was there though with the shapes.
I don't know, I like that.
It just tasted bad. I remember it was one of the worst things I tasted there.
All right. Most people say Cheez-Its. All right. Which lolly is better to snack on? Red Frogs or Twizzlers?
Red Frogs.
I don't know if I ever ate a Red Frog.
I never ate a Red Frog.
I don't really
good.
like Twizzlers.
Did you ever have jelly babies while you were down there?
I'm unsure.
They're good. They're like an actual flavorful gummy. I feel like Twizzlers don't have much flavor.
So Red Frogs, we're all Red Frogs.
I mean, sure. Whatever.
Red Frogs.
It was 50-50. All right. Which of these sugary delights deserves to be on top? Fairy bread or Pop-Tarts?
Okay. Well, when you have fairy bread, like on like a piece of white bread, it looks really bad. But when you would buy it at like Baker's Delight or something, it was on like this like sweet like roll, like freshly baked there every day or something like that. Or two with frosting and sprinkles. So I'm gonna say Pop-Tarts because that looks nasty.
Yeah, I'm going Pop-Tart.
All right.
Pop-Tarts have a lot
I
of
was
flavor.
I was pretty split.
Which one of these childhood drinks gets the top prize? Lime cordial or
Cordial.
Capri Sun?
Capri Sun.
Gotta go Capri Sun.
Cordial sucked.
I don't know Capri Sun orange as is pictured here, but
It's just what it says.
I am against Capri Suns because of the stupid plastic straws and the stupid plastic sleeve. Because every child out there who drinks a Capri Sun, you know what they do with that plastic sleeve that the straw's in? They throw it on the ground.
Okay, we're going based on flavor here.
No, I'm not.
in childhood.
Okay,
I'm
well,
not-
Tori and I both voted Capri Sun.
Well, I'm saying lime cordial.
Well, I said fairy bread for the last one, and we went with Pop-Tarts.
Okay, shut up.
Majority rule.
If you don't know what cordial is, it's like a concentrated juice you add to water. Like, you know how we have like powdered lemonade? It's kind of like that. But
I always felt like it wasn't flavorful enough. It was always lacking.
well, you can add more. Just add more syrup.
Make it what you
That
want.
one I didn't have control over the amount of syrup.
Oh well.
Anyway,
Capri Sun wins.
yes. 78% Capri Sun. Which chocolate snack is better? Pods or Milk Duds? Why?
Pods.
Why wouldn't they have put Maltesers here, right?
No, because Maltesers are different.
Both.
Maltesers and Whoppers.
Yeah, I feel like they're
wow,
too
that's right.
close.
Okay, I got it confused.
But I
Milk
think
Duds.
pods.
I've never had pods.
I didn't have any, but they
Milk
look
Duds
more.
are always like disappointing because they
They're
just stick.
The pods look more unique.
They're good.
Okay, pods.
I only had them once, and I split it with friends.
Pods
at a
win.
movie, but they were good.
Which of these nostalgic snacks is more delicious? Mamie noodles or Lunchables?
Lunchables.
Lunchables.
I mean, I feel like we're only saying that because we don't know what the other thing is.
Well, I think it's like dry noodles that you just chomp.
I feel like that's not very comparable then. Like this is like a little meal, and this is like
I don't know. Maybe you add hot water to it.
basically.
Oh no, it's probably like ramen.
Maybe.
Probably. I don't know. But
Weird that
Lunchables.
it's called a noodle snack though.
Lunchables also have desserts sometimes. At least
Lunchables.
nowadays.
They just put like an Oreo in there. All right. Lunchables.
Speaking of Oreo,
Which one of these chocolate bickies gets your vote? Tim Tams or Oreos? This is very tough.
I'm saying Tim Tams. I think
Yeah,
I'm an
I
Oreos kid all the way.
I think Oreos lack flavor for me.
No. And there are
Like
so
it.
many more different flavors than there are flavors of Tim Tams.
But the different flavors aren't necessarily good.
They are
they're
so
not.
good. Gingerbread,
They're not
peanut
all
butter,
good.
chocolate hazelnut, marshmallow.
Okay, the
Are you
apple
just saying
cider
this-
donut one this year sucked. I'm sorry. It
The
You
smells
Oreos
get
good.
the gingerbread ones?
No.
Look,
McKenna-
Oreos are better than Tim Tams.
Sorry, go ahead, Serena.
McKenna's just saying that because Oreos are vegan and she can't eat Tim Tams, so she doesn't remember what they taste like.
No, I remember what they taste like. And I like Oreos better.
Grr.
Well, we're saying Tim Tams wins because majority wins.
Tams.
Which sour snack do you crown king? Fizzers or Sour Patch Kids? I don't think I ever heard Fizzers. So
Never.
I would go Sour
in
Patch Kids.
Australia was the chocolate, not all the fruity stuff. So I got a nice Cadbury Mousse bar every time I got candy. All right. Which did we say?
I say Sour Patch Kids.
Serena, Sour Patch Kids? Okay. Yeah. I do like that stuff. Which chip is the better offering? Cheezels or Cheetos? I gotta go Cheetos.
Yeah.
I can't say because I'm not a fan of cheesy, puffy things.
But you have to say which one you would prefer.
Flamin' hot Cheetos.
Okay. All right. Which ice cream is number one? Oh, this is what? They picked terribly. Golden Gay Time or Ben and Jerry's? Obviously Ben and Jerry's.
Ben and
But
Jerry's.
like, I don't feel like this is a fair comparison. They should have been like Golden Gay Time or like those little strawberry shortcake pops or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like they have Ben and Jerry's in Australia too.
But
Yeah.
Ben is an American like brand.
Yeah. But I mean Ben and Jerry's.
But it's like Ben and Jerry's is gourmet ice cream next to like your standard like
ice.
popsicle.
Yeah, your standard ice cream pop.
But Ben and Jerry's, sorry, Golden Gate Time. Which spread gets your tick of approval? Smucker's Goober Grape or Vegemite?
Smuckers.
I mean, yeah, I have to go jam in general, but
Yeah.
Well, it's not just jam, it's like they're jam and peanut butter swirled together.
oh. I don't think
Yeah.
I've had that either.
It's-
But
Yeah, it's so you don't have to like get two different jars.
less work, more convenient, just like America loves.
Just like American.
Which chocolate block knocks out the competition? Cadbury Dairy Milk Chocolate or Hershey's Milk Chocolate?
Hershey.
I gotta go Hershey's.
Hershey's. Guys, we grew up 2 hours away from Hershey Park, so Hershey's is just a big nostalgia thing for us.
Not
It will
Hershey,
always taste good.
but Hershey, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
where Walt or whatever his name was, probably Walt. Hershey.
You're
It's from-
confusing your theme park masters here.
Oh, Milton.
Yeah, Milton.
Milton Hershey. That's where he was from, and that's where his factory is. And they also created an amusement park called Hershey Park.
Yeah. Thank goodness he did not get on the Titanic.
I do
Thank
think
goodness.
though that Hershey chocolate tastes better than Cadbury standard chocolate. So
I'd agree.
hot take.
Yeah. Although a Cadbury Crunchy bar, that would be competition with the pieces of honeycomb.
Can't say.
Oh,
Or toffee, whatever it was.
But like I said, I liked me a Cadbury Mousse bar. And last, oh wait, did I pick? No, Hershey's. Okay. What? Cadbury won by that much?
Wow.
71% to 29%.
71% to 29. Yeah, sorry, viewers
Cool.
or listeners.
Okay, this one I can't take
And
part in.
lastly, which of these would you rather snack on? A meat pie or pizza rolls? Like meat pie. Come on.
Meat pie.
Meat
No
pie.
competition.
What?
Pizza rolls won.
I
Well-
don't like pizza rolls. Like every time I've had them, I'm just like, eh,
Well, this
why
seems
am I
like
eating this?
this seems like a very skewed survey because obviously there are more Americans than there are Australians in the world.
Yeah.
And
But, like,
Americans have never heard of meat pie, or if they've only ever been in America, probably never had a meat pie.
mhm. I mean,
Everyone everywhere has pizza rolls, right?
I don't know. Did Australia have pizza rolls?
I don't know.
How
Did
Why
Mom
would we have bought them?
look like she buys pizza rolls?
No, we've never bought pizza rolls in our house.
No.
I know. Come and get us. We've never bought pizza rolls.
We
Never
were a
had
Bagel
pizza
Bites
rolls.
family.
I only have had them at other people's houses, and
Yeah.
usually
Never had
regret it.
never had those burritos you heat up in the microwave? Hot Pockets? I had my
Yeah, I've never had a hot
Wow.
but like
We did have
Cadbury-
Bagel Bites.
Yeah, we had that was probably
Bagel
the
bites are
only
good.
of that genre that we bought was bagel bites. Cadbury did win though. That might be the only Australian one that won.
Pods.
Pods won. Red
Frogs,
Frogs was 50-50. So yeah,
basically.
still skewed. But like an American made it though, right? Like,
No,
but
I
I
think
guess there's
Australia
more
did.
An
more
Aussie.
people. I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. An Aussie made it, but there's more Americans in the world, so more
Well, scroll to
Americans
the top. It'll tell you if it was a staff member where they're from.
Post Writer. No.
You
But she
gotta
said-
tap on it. Tap
she
on the
said-
name.
She said Bickies.
Yeah, like she
Wait.
said a lot of Australian slang. Based in Sydney.
Yeah.
All right. So come back next week. We're gonna do part 2 of Australia.
Yay.
We pretty much
Or
only
we will
talked
go
about
more into food.
school today. So yeah. But yeah. All right. Bye guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this week's Long Distance Sisters. Be sure to subscribe for more episodes and leave a good review.
And check out the video version on our YouTube channel.
You can find all of our other social media information in the description.
Talk to you later.
Bye.